Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, this is my workshop, and if you've been following me you'll know that I'm currently in the middle of a Jagdpanzer 38 build, or the Hetzer. When I say in the middle, I'm almost there, but it needs a bit more work. I need to get it painted, but I want to get it outside to paint it because I need to get around all parts of the tank, and I don't want to do it in my workshop. But unfortunately the weather here in the UK is absolutely shocking. I had to stop myself there, but if you live in the UK you know what I mean. And it still hasn't given me an opportunity to get the tank out and painted, but I'm hoping very shortly the weather's going to improve and I'll be able to do that. But in the meantime I have some work to do to my Tiger. Now I did mention this in a couple of videos previously and there seemed to be some level of interest in this. So there is when you own an Armortek tank, you still have to maintain it, not so much as a as a piece of machinery as such, but just the general wear and tear. And recently, when I noticed when I was using it or operating the tank, I noticed there was a bit of play, and I don't you can see that in the video, but there's a bit of play in the turret, and I hate that. It just looks wrong, and I'm worried that it's going to wear some of the toothing mechanism on the turret. So I have a feeling it's the turret motor itself, or the mount for the turret motor slipped. That should be a relatively straightforward and easy fix, but what it does mean is I need to get the top plate off, the turret off, the top deck off, disconnect all the wires, get to the inner workings of it and get this on my bench so I can start looking at the problem and trying to solve it. And while I've got this off, I might as well have a good look around inside to make sure there's no work to be done there. I might even do a bit of tensioning on the tracks, and so then we can put it all back together and make sure it's working as intended. So I thought I'd film this and show it to you while I'm waiting for the weather to improve. I'm hoping though in the next week or so I will be in a position to get this thing painted and my Hetzer painted, and I will film every part of that. But also during the course of this video I will tell you about my next project, which is another Armortek project, but I'll let you know a little bit about that later on. So what I'll do now is I'll let these guys carry on doing their thing. And I'll reposition the camera, we'll disconnect everything and get started. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just disconnect my little chaps here, because I don't want them to, I had to disconnect them before I take this top plate off, and that's them done. The two charging cables which I present through this escape hatch, I've already disconnected these. They're on the CTEC condition chargers. Then we're just going to pop all of this back in there for now, because I'm going to show you the problem in terms of how the tank operates. So first thing, let's just start it up. Now this is going to be noisy because I've got it up, I've got the volume up quite loud for when I'm using it outside, but to get to the volume I need to take the turret off. So we'll start off by turning the radio set on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And then also I have got this elevated, so it's on the table jack, but it's also on the motorcycle jack sitting underneath it, so the tracks are not touching the table, so I can use this without worrying about spinning it off and having a bit of a disaster. So let's turn everything on. That's the sound card just kicking in. Now the problem I've got is when I rotate this, let's just pop that down. When I rotate this, you can see that, I don't know if you can see that, it's got like an overrun on it, and you can see it trying to center itself back, and that's really annoying me. And I'm worried, as I said, I'm worried about damaging the toothing mechanism underneath. So just for laughs and gigs, I'm going to start it up. Really loud, sorry. Just turn it off. This is fitted with the older smoke generator, so the new smoke generator that came with the Persian and the new up-to-date tanks that Armortek sell has got the sort of the pressure built in, so you don't, with this you don't get that initial jet of vape or steam or exhaust fumes. You only just get what it does. So I mean, you can see there now the smoke's coming out. It's more effective when you're driving it outside and you're moving it around, and the exhaust fumes look as if they're trailing the tank. But I think the upgrade on the Persian and the tanks that followed are amazing. Now I could replace the smoke kit in this, but it's a lot of work and it's an expense I don't want to go down the road of, and I'm quite happy with it because actually when it's driving around you do get a better effect rather than it just being stationary. So yeah, this is it. I absolutely love this tank. Unfortunately, I think I might have to get rid of it. When I say get rid of it, I think I need to put it up for sale, because I need to make some space, because I've got another project lined up, or want to align myself with later in the year if I'm lucky enough to still be able to get one. And I am targeting the Leopard, but my next project is not the Leopard, so I'm really sorry if I'm going to disappoint you guys, but I am definitely targeting the Leopard. But in order for me to justify that, I do need to move this Tiger on. I'm quite sad because it's a brilliant model. I put a lot of time into building it, as you know, and it's going to go to a very lucky new owner, hopefully. No one's put an offer in yet. I've got it on the forum. If you're interested in this, go on the forum and send me a direct message, or a private message. It's, all I can say is one careful owner and low mileage. But what we'll do is I'll get this. I'm going to rotate this around to make it easy for me to remove the turret. And then we're going to turn everything off to allow me to take everything off that I need to get access to. Drop that down.
Lost.
Turn the radio set off. And I know I've said it a few times, but if you're new to this, make sure that you turn your radio set on before you turn the tank on, because you could be really unlucky and this could go off on its own. And if it did, you're never going to stop it. And this thing it's hugely heavy. And it's going to do some significant damage. So what I'll do now is I'll just get some tools and we'll get the top plate off and take it from there. Right, so the first things first is the top plate. Now I don't put all the fixings in this. This takes, I think, 5 fixings. You don't need to put them all in, because when this is operational and it's out there, out in the sort of the big outdoors, the fact that you've got a couple of holes for fixings, you don't notice it. And I want to be able to get into it quickly if there's a problem, so I don't want to be messing around. So I only just put 2 fixings in. It's just to stop the top plate from flipping off or bouncing out. So I've only got a couple of fixings in, so we'll just remove those, and that's just simply, these are the fixings that come with the Tiger. I'll just pop that on my bench so I don't lose that. And I've got one on the back here. And the top plate itself comes off with no problems at all, but obviously you have to disconnect. If you've got figures like this, and if I haven't mentioned it before, I'm sure I have, but these are by Churchill Creations, a guy called Sim. He is a genius. You basically buy the donor figure, you send it off to him, and he creates these incredible animatronic figures. So now I should be able to just lift this top plate off, like so. And we've just got the 2 leads from the animatronic figures, so I'm just going to move that. Excuse me, I'm just going to move this off and out of the way. So that's that. That allows me to now get in and have a look at the turret. Now again, with the turret you get these wing fixings, which are designed to stop this turret from bouncing off, because you imagine if you're going to be going up and down obstacles and everything else, the likelihood is this is going to bounce off, and that would not be good. So, but I have not used all the fixings. I'm just trying to see how many I've fixed. I've only put 2, just 2. I mean, it's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fixings, but I don't think you need that. Again, if you want to get into this in a bit of a rapid hurry, if there's a problem, you want to be able to get things off reasonably quickly. And the 2 wing nuts, they're not going to allow this to move off. So I'm just going to take the initial ones off, pop those on the bench, Now, in order to lift the turret off, I have to disconnect the cable that connects the main gun, and that is buried down here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. So there's a wiring loom. Obviously, when I do this, I always make sure that they're. Let me see if I can get this out so I can show you. I'll tell you what. I'll reposition the camera so you can see it. So here's the inner workings of the tank, and it's only looking a bit messy because obviously I've disconnected the figures and the charging cables. But the main connection, or the main lead that you need to disconnect in order to remove the turret, is this lead here. Then you can see that. This one here. This little one here. It's pre-wired by Armortek. Fantastic. This just clips out like so, and that should now allow me to lift the turret off the tank, and the wiring loom here is all intact. So now that's disconnected, I should just be able to get hold of the turret, and I'm going to lift it, holding my hand underneath the gun here and under the ammunition box. Actually, I will not do that. I'll go inside and lift this up. So that should just lift straight up like so, and I'm just going to pop that onto my bench, pull the cables out so I don't do any damage. In fact, a piece of timber here just to prevent the cables getting damaged underneath. So that's now off, and I'll just show you what I mean by that. Sorry guys. So when you remove the turret, you've got the cable and the main cable loom that comes in underneath here. What you don't want to do is sit that directly down on your bench. You need a bit of timber underneath it just to elevate it so you don't crush any of the cables. So that's that off. That exposes now the underneath of the main deck. And again, what I do, you can't see it from there, so I will remove the camera, set it up differently so you can see the next step. So with the turret removed, I can now remove the top deck, but before I do that, we just need to disconnect one more item, and that is the turret motor itself from the main battery. So that just should slide out. So that's that. So this lead here leads to the turret motor. But as I've taken the turret off, I've realised that some of these fixings have worked themselves loose as well. So that could probably, and you can see, look, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, there's far too much movement on that. These are a little bit loose, so these all need to be tightened up. Now again, it's just personal preference. I have never fixed down the top deck, because my understanding, or what I think, is you've got that turret sitting on that is a hefty old weight, and it's going to take some shifting for that to be dislodged along with the deck. Now if you've got that fixed to the top deck, it's going to take a huge amount of force to lift it all off. But yeah, I'm not saying that's what I've done. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. So anyway, there's no fixings for this. I can just lift this straight out. And I don't know if you remember, but when I built this originally, I designed it so I could take it all out in one piece. Here we go. And I should just be able to lift this up. There we go. Just disconnect the smoke hose, and then that will go on my bench like so. So now I can actually see the problem. I think I can see the problem. We'll sort it out. And what I'll do, again, I know I keep saying it, but I will reposition the camera so we can get in and have a good look at this. Right, so now I've got a task light on so that you might get a bit of a strobe effect. I hope you don't, but just so that we can get to the underside of this. I can see by just, well, you can probably hear that, there's definitely a bit of play on the main motor drive itself, and it seems to be meshing all right, but I think the play is actually in the motor. So there's a couple of retaining bolts here and here that hold this in place. Obviously I'll put some thread locker on it, so now we need to soften the glue up so I can get to it. So I'm just going to get some heat to it by, you can see that. Just applying the heat to the thread locker helps soften it, and hopefully allows us to remove one of these to allow me to swing it out and see what I can do to adjust it. I might end up having to remove the ring, that the little small rounds protective ring that goes around here. I may have to do that, but we'll see how we get on. So let's see if I can get a turn on that. Yeah. Definitely turning. Let's loosen it. So yeah, I can see there's a lot of play on that. A lot of play on that. I might be able to get a sort of an Allen key in there and tighten that up. Otherwise, what that's going to mean is I'm going to have to remove the small rounds ring protector here on the top end of the hole, which is a bit of a nightmare to be able to adjust this. So I'll have a look at that and I'll come straight back. So here's the culprit. This has worked its way loose a little bit, so I need to get that tight, and it seems as if that's going to be the solution. So I don't know if you can see that, but that is got so much play on it, and that gives us the reason why that has been doing what it's been doing. So I think the answer to that is I might just put a little bit of thread locker on that. Don't know. Let me see. Let me see if I just tighten it up first. Sorry if I've got my hands in the way. That's got it there, so that's fine. Now we need to just get this back in. There we go. Lock that in for now. I'm going to tighten these off. It's about as tight as it can go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect up just the turret rotation motor, my radio set, turn that on,
Welcome to OpenTX.
turn on, just make sure there's no cables dangling around. I don't want the tracks to start going off and doing their thing and then all of a sudden we have a problem. Actually, I'll just have to do a bit of a work tidying up on that. I can see that with my heat gun. Anyway, I'll be back in a minute. Right back with you. So tank on. Just I'm going to turn that down. Now all I want to do now is just test the motor. And what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go with the longest. What I'll do, I'll mark that so we can know how many rotations we've done. So let's start with this here. I'm listening for any clunks or bangs. Seems to be fine. Go the other way. no overrun on it at all. So that's solved that problem. That is that nice simple fix. So obviously this is just where the tank has been used quite a lot, and it just these things work loose. So it is really important that you keep an eye on these things, because the last thing you want is to end up ignoring it and end up with a bigger problem down the road. So that's done. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect up my air hose. I can see there's a lot of dust that's built up in the bottom of the hull of the tank, and I'm just going to give that a good old blowout, and then we'll have a look at tensioning the tracks. Right, so the next thing I want to do is just look at the track tension, and I don't know if you can see on the camera, but if you look at this idler wheel tensioner and compare it to that idler wheel tensioner, this is on a sort of slightly more tense or higher tension than this, and these things they just work themselves loose through use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push that with my hand. I don't know if you can see that. And that allows me to then wind. Sorry, I'm doing this is so awkward with the camera on, and I'm just going to wind that back into its retaining position. That needs a bit more. It's pulling the idler wheel out, so that tensions the track up. I mean, you could go in through the back of this, but that means you have to remove the tensioning wheel or the tensioning rod plates at the back, which you don't want to be doing. Still a bit more to go. I want them to be the same. Now, I don't know how it works, but I don't know how it happens, but it does. It works itself loose. You know, I've had hours and hours and hours of driving on that. It's about the same. And I'm just going to just visibly, I know I'm out of camera, but I'm now just visually looking at the tracks, and the gap between the top and that looks the same as the other side. I know I'm doing this off camera. So that's that. So really that's it, done that. I can see there's a lot of dust build up on the inside of this, which is normal. So what I'm going to do now is just get my air hose to it. This could be a bit noisy. I've turned the compressor off, there should be enough air in it. And I'm just going to I don't know what that is. You can see this stuff just working my way along. Move the camera so a little bit more so you can see the whole of the inside of the tank. It's probably been a while since you've seen this. I use an air hose rather than a vacuum, because I don't want to be knocking cables accidentally and the likes of that. So happy with that. I'm going to put it all to, actually no, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just adjust the volume of the sound. So I'll do that, and well, we'll get cracking. So for this, turn the radio set on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Turn on the tank. What we'll do is just, this is going to get a bit noisy. And this is the sound card in here, and this is a controller on here that allows you to adjust the volume. I mean, obviously it's going to be loud because when it's outside and surrounded by its environment, it needs to sort of, if you like, project its throaty noise of the engines in this amazing tank. so that's that. Happy with that. Turn the tank off. Turn
Telemetry lost.
turn the radio set off. And now I'm going to put it all back together and we'll just do a final test. Right, time to put it all back together. So first things first, we just make that cable available for connecting. I'm going to take my holes, the top deck section. I'm going to pop that in the end first. Pull this cable out. That should just sit back in. That might need a little bit of gentle persuasion. My grandson's been in the garage again. Maybe I don't need the hammer, so. There we go. That's it. Good. So that's that. These are all sort of tight. I'm just checking these, making sure that these are all tight. And there, that's all good. Now we can connect up the two cables again. So that's that connected. And then just make sure we can get our cables ready for when we put the turret on. Have a charging cable somewhere. There it is there. Just pop that on there. Then we need the main bayonet connection, which is this one here, ready so that when we put the turret on, we can connect up the gun again and the elevator, and then we're good to go. So I'll just go and get the turret, and I'll be back shortly. Right, so now just picking the turret up from the bench, and this is a lump, and now just going to try and line up. And that's gone in. Lovely. Beautiful. Right. So now just need to reconnect up the main cable, and that's disappeared down into the, oh, there it is. So we're just going to reconnect this up. I don't want that on top, I want that underneath the framework. Connect all this up, he says. Make sure it's right. Yeah, it can only go one way. That's that connected. And before we do anything else, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all my cables, the charging cable, the cables that operate the two animatronic figures, make sure that they can still pass through and, you know, reach the escape pod or the escape hatch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to test everything before I put the top plate on and put the wing nuts back on the turret itself. And then, so that's all that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll fire it up and we'll test everything before before we finish it off, because I don't want to bolt it down and then find I've disconnected something inadvertently. So I'll do that and I'll come straight back. Right, that's everything as I want it. Just going to elevate the Tiger so I can rotate the turret and the gun doesn't clash into my workbench. So let's get going. We'll start it up.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Turn it on. Sound card seems to be working fine. Let's just play it. And why I'm doing that, oh, a little bit of barbed wire has come off. Why I'm doing that, and a bit of the tracks come loose, is I want to make sure that I'm getting full rotation on the turret without it snagging any of the cables, because that's really important. So that seems to be fine, no issues with that. So just pop this back on. This isn't part of the kit, this is just to add on bits and details that I think it's always good to add. This little barbed wire here is something I managed to buy off you know, that big auction site. I think it's made by Dragon, but again, just Dragon do a lot of like 1:6 scale amazing accessories and model kits and everything else. So let's just make sure that all the drive motors are working. All fine. I like the tension of the track, actually it's not a lot better, and I don't know if you can see, but the smoke is working lovely. Yeah. Lights working. Everything's working. So we know that we're good to go. Everything's working as it should. So I'm just going to rotate the turret back round. I like to store it with the gun partially elevated. And away from that, and that's all good. So we can now turn off the tank and the smoke,
lost.
turn off the radio gear, and we can reconnect up the wing bolts or the wing nuts. So that's really pleased how that's gone. As you can see, there's nothing major to it. It's just one of the things that you have to do when you're an owner of one of these amazing kits. Just every now and then, just keep an eye on it, make sure that the things are working as they should. If you see something not quite right, don't leave it. If you leave it, it can get worse and could end up having a catastrophic impact on your tank, and you don't want that, because you're going to be putting a lot of hard work into this, and the last thing you want is to end up doing some significant damage. So that's that there. And last but not least, we'll just pop the top plate back on. Oh, before I do that, I'll present all of the cables through that I'm going to need. They're all my cables, so that's for, I'm going to connect up for charging, and I've got the cables there for connecting the figures as and when I want to do that. And now we can pop that in. I'm just going to present these two other parts of the cable out of the escape hatch. In. Just get my two fixings. Just pop them back in. Now I don't know if you've I hope this has been informative. It was something I had to do, and at the time I wasn't going to film it, but then I had some responses to say that it's something that you'd like to see. So that's it. You can see there's not a lot of parts to be maintained, but it's well worth doing. Every time I use the tank, I always clean the tracks anyway. I get an airline on the tracks, and I give them a good old brush so that there's nothing stuck in the track. And really that's it. I just, just occasionally just make sure you'll see operationally whether or not there's something wrong with the tank or not. And if you do see it, don't, as I said, don't ignore it. Crack on and get it sorted, because the last thing you want to do is leave it and it gets worse. So I'll finish up here and I'll be back to camera very soon. Actually, hadn't noticed when I put the lid back on until I sort of looked at the film back just a bit of this shot, that I'd inadvertently disconnected the LED light to the gun barrel. So I've reconnected that now. So if you're out there and you've spotted that, well spotted, but it is working. And I just want to show you. You're looking right down the end of the barrel. And there we go, it's working. So all good. So now I will pack everything away and I'll be back to camera very soon. So that's it for today's session. I'm sorry we couldn't cover the Hetzer. It's just the weather, as I've said so many times, is diabolical. I've never known a winter to drag on so long in the UK. But, hopefully the weather's going to start turning and I can get the Hetzer outside and I can get it painted and get the camo scheme done on it. And then, long awaited, finish off the electronics and get the amazing Hetzer operational running. And we'll take it out for a spin with these two amazing tanks, my Persian and my Tiger. I just thought I'd park them next to together so you can see them both. So today was really just showing you some basic maintenance on these tanks. It's not just relevant to the Tiger, it's relevant to all Armortek kits. They do recommend that you clean and maintain them, because they put a lot of work into the development, the design and manufacture of these kits for our enjoyment. And so we owe it to them to make sure that the kits are kept well, looked after, maintained, and anything that you think that is not working properly, just fix it. You built it, so you should be able to go back in and work out what the problem is by simply just taking it apart. Because the last thing you want to do is leave it and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it ends up causing some damage and costing you a lot more money. Or worse still, you stop doing it, you stop using it, and it just lingers in your garage, gathering dust. Nobody wants to see that. So my next project, my next project is another Armortek project. I would have loved to have built the Leopard, so I'm sorry to disappoint you if you're expecting me to build the Leopard. It's just I cannot justify the funds or the space right now. Having said that, that's why I have listed my Tiger on the Armortek forum. Hopefully that somebody comes along and buys it and ends up enjoying it as much as I have. And remembering that it's just one careful owner with very low mileage. So if you're interested, you're in the UK and you're interested, go onto the Armortek forum and drop me a private message or a direct message, and I'll be very happy to respond to that. But while I'm waiting to re-establish the funds and the space in my garage, the natural thing for me was to look at what's available at Armortek. And I wanted the Land Rover, the Series 1 Land Rover, but they're sold out, but they've got them back. They've made some more. So I've ordered a Series 1 Land Rover. Super excited about this. It fits perfectly because it's a smaller kit, but still nonetheless as challenging, if not more challenging, because it differs completely to building one of these tanks. And I'm really excited about sort of getting it and unboxing it, and I'll film the whole process I would normally do, from unboxing all the way through the build, all the frustrations, all the wins, all the losses, right through to completing it and getting it operational as well. And I've gone ahead and I bought some really good reference books, because as you know, I do like to have a reference book. This one in particular by James Taylor. I purchased that off of that big website that everybody uses, that you order something in like within 4 hours it's with you. Apparently James Taylor is a doyen of all things to do with this Series 1 Land Rover, and I guess he knocked out a good tune or two as well, right? So I've got a couple more books to go through, a lot of reading to do, and a lot of work to look forward to, and I'm expecting delivery of the Series 1 very shortly. So if I don't get onto the Hetzer, I'll get onto unboxing that we won't build it, but I'll definitely do an unboxing video of that, and hopefully we can just get this Hetzer finished. So a massive thank you to all of you All of you who've followed me from the start, all of you who give your amazing support, your amazing comments, who've subscribed, and all the thumbs up, it means the world to me. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, because as you know, I've just told you, we've got another project in the pipeline. We've also got to finish off the Hetzer. If you've liked this video, give me a massive thumbs up, please. I just want to say thank you again. I'm Tony. I love building these kits, and I can't wait to see you next time.